We've all been there as dungeon masters. The party roll into a new town and immediately ask you, where's the nearest blacksmith? Or where is the bounty office? Or where's the alchemist's shop? And you're sitting there thinking, uh-oh, I didn't plan for that. So you are left to either improvise something on the spot, or say that this town doesn't have that shop or that service. Because, well, why? The real answer is because you didn't have enough time to prepare something, or because you didn't think that you needed whatever it is they're asking for in this town. But what if you do have some time to plan and prepare a town before the players get there? What kinds of things should you try and include, and where is your prep time going to be best spent? Let's run through it together. Ahoy everyone, I'm Nazir North and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about what I think are the 6 most important things you may want to include in your fantasy town or city when planning your Dungeons & Dragons campaign. At the end of the video I'm also going to share some tips and tricks you can use to help cut down on your prep time. Because if you're anything like me, world building can be a very rewarding and completely immersive experience. I can spend hours on it, but unfortunately we as DMs we can't do this 24/7. We still need to work and eat and take an 8-hour long rest every now and then. So my tips will be focused on things that will ultimately save you time. And for those of you on the opposite end of that preparation spectrum who thrive on improvisation and get by with as little prep as possible, maybe some of the things in this list will help you as reminders when you are put on the spot in the session and have to come up with something on the fly. Alright, enough preamble, let's get into it. It almost goes without saying that this list is pretty subjective and based on my own experience and what I've learned over the years. If you disagree with anything on the list, let me know. That is what the comment section is there for. And in no particular order, number 1, a place of political leadership or the seat of power. Who's in charge around here? Is it a single person, like a mayor, baron, or lord? Or maybe a group like a council, a noble family, or even a criminal syndicate? Whoever they are, they need a place to live and or work from. This could be a town hall, a mayor's office, a lordly manor house, or even something like a king or queen's castle or fortress. So why is this place important to our party of adventurers? Why should we spend time on it to prepare it for our town? Depending on the size of the town, its leader may already know of the party. Maybe they've helped out at a nearby village, or maybe they're in the town's bad books, maybe they've committed a crime, or there are other reasons for the locals to be suspicious of them. Either way, the leadership of the town probably have the party on their radar and may want to keep tabs on them. Perhaps the party notice a guard or two following them as they walk through the market, for example. Or maybe as they enter the town, the leader sends out an emissary to invite the party to take up an audience with them. This could be the leader setting a clear line as a warning for the group not to cross, or maybe it's the leader offering an olive branch, an offer of friendship to get to know the party a bit better and to see if they can be trusted. Now, if the party are low level or have never visited this region or country before, or if the town is so big that the leader has more important things to deal with, they may not care or even know about the party. But even where that's the case, the party may still be interested in them. If a meeting isn't possible, the party may ask around, what's the name of this town's leader? What are they like? Fair, harsh, aggressive, underhanded? What do the common folk think of whoever is in charge? Alright, now you know what I mean by the seat of power. What kinds of things should you try and cover in your prep? The political system. You don't need tons of detail here, just the basics. Is it a monarchy, a democracy, something else? Keep it simple, as the players probably aren't going to care enough to inquire too much about this. The name and title of the leader or leaders. Make sure you give them a name, let's say it's John Smith, and then add a simple title that conveys their position. It could be King John or Mayor Smith, for example. And you can go with something like Chief or Kaiser or Baron, or come up with your own title that fits your world. If your leader is actually a group, maybe name them after the town, like the New Town Council or the New Town Elders. The actual seat of power as a place, and yeah, I do mean an actual seat. It doesn't have to be a throne, but every leader has to do their job from somewhere. Maybe an office or great hall or throne room within a large building, probably near the centre of the city, although this does depend quite a lot on the political system you've chosen. For example, if it's a feudal feudal town run by a local lord and his small army of knights, the lord may actually live outside of town in a large rural estate away from the bustling streets of the city. Alright, let's move on to number 2, and that is a place where the will of the leadership is carried out and the law is administered, or as we'll call it here for simplicity, the guardhouse. When a leader wants something done, who does it? And who enforces the rules or the laws of the town? Almost every settlement will have some kind of law enforcement function, whether that be feudal knights, a local militia, an urban police force, maybe a branch of the military, or perhaps even a privately contracted security or mercenary company, hired by the town to keep the peace. And why is the guardhouse important for the party? First and foremost, it will be where bounties are posted and the subsequent rewards collected. Most D&D campaigns are going to involve a bounty or two, maybe to hunt down a fugitive or to kill a monster that's causing havoc nearby. Also, the players themselves may commit crimes when they're in town, and it's the people of the guardhouse that will have to confront them. Okay, so when planning a guardhouse, what things should you consider? The funding and effectiveness of the guards. I guarantee that almost every D&D game that you've played, the DM described some generic town guards, maybe with a shield and a spear patrolling the streets or guarding the gates, and that's about all you got. But we can do a bit better than that. Spend a bit of time considering how well the guards are funded. Are they expected to provide their own weapons and armour, like a militia with a mismatched set of shields and rusted swords? Are they provided with standard issue kit? Or, like feudal knights, are they fairly wealthy and equipped with the best gear gold can buy? Not only will this add more flavour to your town, but it may also make the guards feel more real and more immersive, not like just some generic background NPCs. The name of the guard force. It's just easy to call them town guards, but it only takes a few seconds to come up with something a bit more unique for your game. Maybe they're called the Peacekeepers, the Lawbringers, or the Newtown Militia, for example. The name of the captain of the guard. This character is kind of like the sheriff of the town. They are the one that reports back to the political leadership about the goings-on in the town and other security matters, and they are probably going to be the one that signs off on any bounties that are paid out. They are quite an important NPC for the players to get to know. The actual guardhouse. A town may have several guardhouses, watchtowers, or barracks, but make sure you include one main location that works as a bounty office and as the place where the players can probably find the captain of the guard. And this place could also double as the town's prison. Next up is number 3, and that is a place of trade and commerce, or the market. This is the most obvious one, as what the players want to do with the treasure and gold they've earned, they want to spend it on cool stuff and they want to sell anything that they aren't going to use themselves. This is the function of the market. However, in our prep time, this is one that it's really easy to go overboard on. As a DM, you might be thinking, okay, well, metal armor would need an armorer, and we'd also need a tanner and a leather worker, a blacksmith for most melee weapons, then a bowyer and a fletcher for bows and arrows, a shield maker, and then for more general goods, a clothier, a jeweler, maybe an alchemist, and a magic item trader, etc. You can see where this is going. You can easily end up with 15 or 20 different shops and vendors. Please don't do this. Not only is it going to take up your precious prep time, but it's also going to slow things down at the table. Alright, I've said what you shouldn't do, but what should you do to prepare the market? Try and combine goods types so you have as few traders as possible. The main ones you need are an armor and weapons shop. This one sells all of the listed weapons and armor from the player's handbook all in one place. Nice and simple, no need for a separate leather worker or a fletcher or anything like that. Those professions may still exist in the town, but they sell their goods to this shop rather than each one selling directly to customers, a bit like a supermarket. Fundamentally, this just speeds up playtime at the table. An adventuring goods shop. This one sells all of the listed items under the adventuring gear and tools sections from the player's handbook. So things like rope, bedrolls, and basic clothing for the road. If the adventuring shop is on the edge of town, it can also double as the stable, selling horses and other beasts of burden along with their saddles and saddlebags and feed. A magic or curiosities shop. Not every town needs a magic item shop. In fact, if you're playing in a mid to low magic setting, magic item traders may be very rare. But as a minimum, you probably want somebody who will buy unwanted magic items off the party, and probably sell them back some basic potions. You can always separate this one out into an alchemist and an artificer as well if you wanted. And lastly, a common goods market. This is just the everything else category for anything the party might be looking for that isn't in the core rulebooks. This could just be a series of outdoor stalls on one of the main roads in the town that sells all manner of goods. If you want to make up one or two backup NPCs and just use them as needed at a stall if the players go there. Alternatively, and this advice can apply to any form of trade that we've covered already, you don't have to roleplay shopping. For those of us used to web series campaigns like Critical Role, where every single aspect of NPC interaction is played out, you just need to remember that you don't have to do that as a DM. I'm not bashing Critical Role, by the way, I do enjoy it, it's just not something that DMs should be modelling their home games after. Matt Mercer is effectively a full-time DM. He can spend 40 hours a week on prep time. The rest of us can't afford that. We have to be more efficient with our planning time. And based on that, if the party say they want to go and buy 20 arrows or a new shield or pick up some diamonds or some ruby dust they need for a spell, you can just say, okay, you spend an hour in the market district and you purchase what you're looking for. If yours is the kind of table that gets a bit bored by long shopping sessions, that is all you need. No need to create NPCs or shop fronts or anything like that. Just allow the players to buy what they want. If they're looking for something more rare or particularly expensive, you may want to play that out a bit more, but in general, if it's in your preference, you can keep those interactions short and simple. We are halfway through the list. This is just a reminder to hit that like button if you're enjoying the video and to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and thank you to those of you who already have. If there's anything specific you'd like to see in terms of videos on world building advice or tips for running D&D as a dungeon master, let me know in the comments. At the time of recording, this channel is still brand new. I've only been going for about 2 months, so viewer engagement is extremely helpful at the moment. Not only does this help boost the channel in YouTube's algorithm, but it also lets me know which kinds of videos I should focus my efforts on in the future, based on the ones that you guys like the most. Alright, thank you for tolerating that obligatory self-promotion segment. Let's get back to the video. Number 4 is a place of worship or cultural significance, also known as the temple. D&D settings are invariably diverse when it comes to faith and almost always polytheistic, sometimes not only with multiple gods but maybe even multiple pantheons of gods. And beyond religion itself, certain places within a town may hold a strong cultural significance. Things like the grave of the town's founder, or the statue of a local hero or saint, or maybe the town's oldest building where pioneering explorers first set down their roots to build a new home. So why is culture and religion important to the adventuring party? There could be a few reasons for this. If you have a player character who is a member of a particular religion, perhaps a cleric or a paladin, then the place of worship could be somewhere that they want to visit when they're in town. Check in with the local chapter of their religion to see how things are doing, maybe ask if they need any help. Given the prominence of religion in both real-world history and in D&D settings, religious institutions may also have very strong links both to politics and to law and order. So points number 1 and 2 from our list. Okay, so where should you focus your preparation time on this section of the temple? The dominant religion of the town or region. Decide what the main religion or religions are of the people of this area, just the ones that are popular enough to warrant their own place of worship. Some advice here though, you do not need to make your own pantheon and cosmology for your campaign. It is good fun and I've done it a few times for my own games, but it can be a lot of work. There is absolutely nothing wrong with using the default pantheon presented in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Weirdly, it is the very first thing the Dungeon Master's Guide covers before it actually tells you how to run the game or anything, but that's besides the point. I'm sure that will all get updated when 1D&D comes out later this year. Anyway, that default pantheon has got great coverage, and there is already tons of lore out there on all of the listed gods that you can draw on. That list includes the likes of Lolth, the Raven Queen, Tiamat, and Vecna, names the players may already be familiar with. And if that doesn't do it for you, Appendix B at the back of the player's handbook has 9 more pre-made pantheons that you can just pick up and use. So be sure to check those out before you go creating something of your own. There is also a bit of a danger when it comes to temples that we can go a bit overboard, a bit like with our shops and traders. Not every god in the official pantheon of the land needs its temple in every single town. Even if all towns in this nation follow the same pantheon, each town may have a locally favoured god. For example, the town in the mountains dedicates its temple to Zeus, the god of the sky, while the port town on the coast dedicates its temple to Poseidon, god of the sea. Then the town on the border with a nation they are at war with dedicates their temple to Ares, god of war. You get the idea. Pick 1 or maybe 2 gods to give temples to in your town, depending on its size. The name of the faith leader or leaders. As with other NPCs we've discussed, give them a name and maybe a role or title like priest, vicar, shaman, whatever fits with their religion. The actual temple. Go to town a bit on descriptions of religious buildings and architecture. In the real world, some of the most incredible feats of architecture in any settlement are usually those with religious significance. So describe your temples in a way that they really stand out. On to number 5, and that is a place to rest, relax and socialise, or the inn. Much like shopping and trading, this is another guaranteed activity that the party are going to engage in while they're in town. They'll need somewhere to eat, drink and sleep to get in their long rest and refresh their hit points and other abilities. But the inn can also play an important social role. It's a place where they can meet quest-related NPCs, pick up rumours or gather other intel. The inn might also act as their base of operations if they plan on staying in town for a few days or more. What elements of this should you build out as a DM? This one is actually deceptively simple. 1 to 3 tavern names along with some barkeepers. For a small town, just create 1 inn or tavern. That's all you need. For bigger towns and cities, you may want a couple more. Maybe 1 which is a bit cheaper in the rougher end of town, 1 more aristocratic in the posh rich district, and maybe 1 that's somewhere in between. What you don't need to do here is create a bunch of colourful characters to populate your taverns with. Reuse what you already have. The captain of the guard? Yeah, he drinks at that local tap house. The head priest? Yep, he takes his evening meals in this tavern. The various shopkeepers the party have encountered? Guess where they go in the evening when they've finished work? The pub, just like everyone else. For a bit of extra flavour, you can have some random NPCs on hand to sprinkle in here and there, but that is entirely optional. We are on the last one, number 6, and that is something that makes this town unique, which I've called the Spectacle. This is probably the one that you weren't expecting to find on this list, but it's just as important as the others when it comes to world building and making your town feel real and immersive for the players. What one feature or location does this town have that makes it special? What is the one thing that the players will remember about this town after they've left? You could go classic high fantasy with this. Maybe one of the town's districts is floating 300 feet in the air. Maybe its castle gates are made from the bones of a dead dragon. Maybe the central garden features a gigantic living tree that talks to visitors. Or you could just do something a bit more grounded, like an immense statue to a particular person or god that is special to the town. I don't want to go into too much detail on the Spectacle. I'll leave that one up to your own imagination. Try and come up with something original and memorable for every town the players visit. Main list done. Let's now finish off with some general advice on preparing and planning the 6 things we've talked about. First of all, remember that everything in this list can be mixed and matched together. Is the town a religious dictatorship? If so, then the seat of power and the place of worship may be one and the same. Is the local lord very welcoming and hospitable to visitors? If so, then maybe the inn and the seat of power are the same place. There are plenty of combinations there that not only help the town become more unique, but also help you cut down on your prep time because you're merging locations and NPCs together. Along the same vein, your core party activities can also be served by different things on the list. There are 4 core settlement activities for the adventuring party. These are to receive or turn in quests, to socialize or gather information, to rest, and to trade. But they can almost all be done in any of the locations we talked about. For example, even though the market may seem like the obvious place to trade, maybe the priest is the one that sells the healing potions. Or maybe the king hands out bounty rewards personally rather than letting the captain of the guard do it. And continuing that trend, don't be afraid of occasionally subverting the tropes. Maybe you have a town with no leader somehow, or a lawless frontier town. Maybe you have a town that doesn't trade with outsiders, or that doesn't stock certain items or offer certain services. Maybe there are resource restraints locally, or there aren't enough skilled professionals in a certain trade. When trying to use your prep time efficiently, always consider scaling and proportionality. If the group are just passing through this town, only spending one night there and are never likely to return, then keep your prep really simple. 1 tavern, 1 or 2 shops, then maybe leave out the temple and the spectacle entirely. Whereas if the town is an important focal point for a big plot hook or quest arc, maybe invest some more time into fleshing it out. Lastly, let's go through some time-saving tips specifically for NPCs. When you make one, let's say it's Bob the Barkeep, you only need a few words to sum them up. This is how I create NPCs in my notes, and it's usually just 1 or 2 lines max. I note their name, their role or position, their accent, if you use accents you don't have to at all, some words on their appearance, and then their temperament, attitude or ideals. So let's play this through with our example of Bob the Barkeep. His full name is Bob Jones, he's a barkeeper, and I've also included there the name of his inn, the Thistle and Thorn. He's a male dwarf that I've given the stereotypical Scottish accent, a grey beard, and then a burn scar from a cooking accident on his left forearm. That's just a little bit of extra flavour that could make that NPC more memorable. For his temperament, I've said he's friendly and welcoming, but doesn't like elves. Not because of that classic dwarves hate elves trope, but just because his wife ran off with an elf. He's got a personal grudge. It is as simple as that, just 2 lines, and we have essentially the foundations of a living, breathing person that we can drop into the game. My final piece of advice for this video, and this is a technique that I use all the time and is incredibly helpful when running the game, and that is to have a backup list of location agnostic NPCs ready to go. Whenever you have a bit of spare time, just set up a list in your notebook or wherever you do your prep of a list of NPCs exactly like we did for Bob the Barkeep. Try and keep them generic enough that they could fit into almost any town in your campaign setting. Then when the players roll up into a new place and they ask where the nearest tavern is, you don't have to have planned a specific tavern for this specific town. Just go to your list, take a barkeeper like Bob, and now Bob and his tavern are part of that town. Easy peasy. Now, as a DM, no matter how much prep time you have, you cannot possibly anticipate every single NPC that the players might want to interact with, so some level of improvisation is always going to be needed. But hopefully this list and these tips will help you hone in on the things to plan in advance that will be most likely to come up in the game, so you can spend what precious prep time you have on the stuff that really matters. If you think I've missed anything out, or if you have any tips or tricks that you've been using that you want to share, drop them in the comments. If you're looking for something to watch next, I'll leave some suggestions on encounter building and monster tactics on the end screen, but before we get there, I wanted to let you all know that the channel is now open for memberships, where you can pick up these exclusive badges and emojis, so check out that join button below if you want to show a little extra support for the channel and help me keep creating content like this going forward. Cheers everyone, thank you for watching, I'll see you next time.